Hey, it's Monday, November 13th, and college basketball season is pretty much in full swing now. So it's time to do the video that explains how do you update the college basketball algorithm. It's one of the easier ones to update, even though there are a lot of games, many different teams to choose from every day. So we're going to go through the process, and I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks and any of the little nuances that you'll need to know so that you'll be able to update it really fast. So first of all, when you start for the day, you have a choice about whether or not you want to enter in the scores from the previous day into the cube. It's up to you. It'll help you keep track of the results, but you don't have to do that in order to look at the results or the projections for the current day. You only need to do that if you want to keep track of results from previous days. So I have done that, and they go right here in column G of the cube sheet. And it allows you, when you're in the results pivot sheet, to look at any day and see what the results were. Yesterday at a 5% bump, it looks like it went 20-6. I unfortunately told some friends to take teams like Air Force that lost, and I said, don't take Alabama Birmingham. I don't trust them against Maryland. They won. I said, take Sam Houston. They lost. I find the losers really good at doing that. So just trust the algorithm. Never listen to me. Always listen to the algorithm, as I say. But you can then look at all the results from yesterday. But what if you want to create today's picks? I already have them in here, and I want to show you how we got that into this file pretty quickly. First thing you're going to do is go into the odds compiler sheet. The odds compiler sheet is where you're going to paste the odds from RotoWire. RotoWire has the odds under sports betting. And once you click sports betting, you get a choice for all the different sports that RotoWire has. And you want the college basketball option, which is right here. And you're going to have the option of choosing different days. The current day is going to generally show up. But if you scroll down and you choose see more college basketball odds, we're going to type in the date of the 14th or choose the date of the 14th. Some of these games will already be in here. They may not have lines yet, but they generally put the schedule in here. So I'll show you. Yeah, see, look, there's only 2 games in here so far, but there are 2 games in there. There's probably more than 2 games on the 14th. But you click the Excel download, it's going to pop up. I'm going to open it up even though you can't see it. And I'm just going to grab it just to show you what it does when you paste it in the daily odds sheet. So I know you can't see the Excel file that just popped up, but I grabbed it. And then we go back into the odds compiler sheet, and you're just going to paste it right here. And now we've added a couple picks for the day of the 14th. Those picks are now automatically going to get filtered into the cube sheet. Automatically, it's going to put the right day associated with those picks. And those 2 games have just now popped up right here, Duke and Michigan State and Kansas and Kentucky. And it's appropriately put the date of the 14th next to those games right here. So that's a real quick way just to get a very fast look at the picks. For example, if we go back into the results pivot sheet and we refresh, right click and refresh this pivot table, all of a sudden we have a choice. We can look at those 2 games. You know, it has Kansas beating Kentucky and it has Duke beating Michigan State. Now, it's not perfect. It's not the most optimal projection because it will be more optimal when we add current player stats, current injury report, and current team stats. So let's talk about how to add those sheets. So odds compiler, done. You know, you download the odds, you paste them right in here. You're good. Next, go to the injury report. Injury sheet is where the injury report goes. You get the injury report from fantasy sports, college basketball, injuries, injury report. You're going to download this Excel file, open it up, and you are going to paste it. Sorry, processing is a little slow. Computer's doing a lot of things at once here. You're going to paste it right here. Sometimes I'll clear this report out first, but if you're going to paste over it, you can paste over it. Just make sure that if there's any extra information at the bottom because the injury report shrunk, like maybe the injury report is only this long, you'll want to get rid of the players that are below it because they would have been from the old injury report and they're not on there anymore. So keep that in mind if you just paste the injury report over. Once you do that, great. You've updated the injury report. and you can go to the injury pivot sheet and right click inside and refresh, and it's going to update who's playing and who's out. And it can show you like somebody's out on Albany, New York. It's Justin Neely is out with a knee injury. That's why you can see that information right here. This is helpful for determining how many of the players are playing and whether there are significant players that are out or game time decisions. It's helpful to browse through this report when you're looking at your picks for the day to see if anything shows up, because where you see this on here is it shows up in this health number. This is where you can see that teams, for example, St. John's is extremely injured. They're at 76%. So whatever St. John's has for injuries, you can tell that may be a reason why Michigan might win this game on the road today, because St. John's significant injuries. We could look at that and see that they have 61%. Somebody's a game time decision. So it's not that they're potentially out, but they are game time decision with a heel injury. It's Joel Soriano. So he might play. So it's one good thing to know is that even though it's an injury, that player might play. So we've updated the odds. We've updated the injury report. Okay, those are two things. Third thing, the player stat sheet. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to download the player stats off of RotoWire, which are located fantasy sports, college basketball. It's under stats and the regular stats. And you'll get this very large player stat list, which is updated daily. It's actually updated multiple times throughout the day, I believe, as well. Export this as Excel, and you're going to paste that right here. This report will always grow in size every day, so you don't have to worry about removing any excess that would show up at the bottom, because this report just keeps getting bigger. We already have 5,219 players or 218 players in here already. As more players come in, or I guess get added to teams or get some minutes and get some stats, this list will just continue to grow every day. So that's the player stats. Now here's one that's a little bit, the last two are a little bit more complicated. So the current year team stats, also located on RotoWire, is under stats, team stats. And when you export this one, and this one you actually can see as I have shared this image, you have to do something with this one. You can't just copy this. You have to go and you have to press enable editing. And the reason why is when you press enable editing, it is going to slightly change the way that you can copy the formatting. And the column C that's related to the record does not show properly unless you allow Excel to fully copy the entire formatting that this column is in. Once you do that, you copy it, and then you go back into the current year team stat sheet and you paste it here. And it will work. If you do not do enable editing on that sheet and you just try to copy it without enable editing, you'll see the record does not work right, and you'll get a bunch of errors over here when it comes to wins and losses. And so that is a common problem people ask me about, is why didn't this work when I pasted in? You have to press enable editing in this file when you download it off of RotoWire, or it will not bring it in properly. So that's good. All right. So what else do we have to do? Current year school stats, which comes from a different source than RotoWire. It comes from the sportsreference.com, which is this page. Come on, computer. That's my son. We're gonna play some NHL 24 to simulate the hockey games a little bit later today, because there are only two. But back. No, I'm in the middle of a video. Back to the college football stats from Sports Reference. Here you have to manually copy this. So start at the number one ranked team, or the number one listed team. It's listed alphabetically. It's not listed by ranking in here. And you have to highlight with the left click of the mouse all the way down to the bottom when you're in Google Chrome. I know I haven't made a data connection for this so that you can just, refresh this. You actually have to go and do this every day. The data connections, it's messy. It doesn't always come in right. And I just had problems with the data connection, so I didn't do it. Can you get to the end here and you right click when you're highlighted over the last yellow highlighted area and you press copy? Then you go back here and you right click and paste as match destination formatting. And voila, you've got it. And you've now copied and pasted everything that you need to do to get this file updated for the day. Okay, that's pretty much it. Whenever I'm sending this out every day, that's the process I go through to get this thing current. Now, a couple other things. The standing sheet. I don't believe Hawaii or St. Francis have played any games yet. Let's check. Pulling these formulas down. This is from last season stats. The way we check is we go here, we change in the results pivot, we change this to current year. And we go back and we take a look. Nope. They still haven't played any games yet. So I've just been excluding these teams from the projections. I'm waiting for them to play any games. I mean, Hawaii has not really played any games yet. That seems odd, but let's take a look. Hawaii. Yeah, they're 0-0. We have no recorded games for those teams. Eventually, they will play some games if they're still part of this, the Division 1A or whatever it is. I assume they are because they're on here, but they just haven't played any games yet. So that's why I remove them so that we don't have any errors. But eventually, they will play games, and you'll want to pull these formulas down when they do play games so that you have a full list of all the teams. St. Francis might have been removed, given that I haven't seen them play yet. Is St. Francis part of Division 1A college basketball? St. Francis, New York?
According to USA Today, Francis College will eliminate its entire Division 1 athletic.
Okay, they're gone. Yep. All right. They are gone. So it's just Hawaii that we're waiting on, and that's probably because they're in Hawaii. So that's good to know. So we don't have to worry about St. Francis. Okay, so that's the brief overview of what's going on in the standing sheet. Now what? Now let's talk about today, and let's talk about browsing through this file with something I've added, because early in the season like this, you're going to have current year stats and prior year stats. Past year or prior year stats are going to be the better one to use this early in the season because teams have only played 2 or 3 games so far. So this is what the look is for the day on the 13th using prior year stats at a 5% home bump, which is a pretty standard home bump for home teams. Well, all these teams show up, and there are a few underdogs on here. They're all away teams. There's Oral Roberts, Cal Santa Barbara, Siena, who actually has a positive strength of schedule last year. And so does the Citadel, and so does Michigan. There's that Michigan game against somebody who's a game time decision on St. John's. So these 5 games as of last year's stats are showing up as underdogs with a 5% home bump. Keep in mind, they're all away teams. And that Oral Roberts game, that's pretty crazy that Oral Roberts is a 21% margin. That's a pretty high margin on there. So that Oral Roberts is probably a decent pick, especially plus the points. Well, let's talk about whether or not those picks would show up if we used current season stats. So here's what I've added. All these teams under past year stats that show up as a team of reference, you can now copy them, okay? You can copy them, and then you can paste them here as it's called house past or current sample. It means you're putting all the teams that the algorithm is picking based on past year stats. You're putting them down here, and it's remembering them in the pivot now, so that when you go and look at current season stats, you're going to be able to see which teams would have showed up as being favored by the algorithm based on last season stats, and the ones that would not have been favored by the algorithm under last season stats. So we're going now to current year, and we are refreshing the pivot. And this green slicer will have an option now after we refresh this. It says chosen or not chosen, okay? What this means is you have a day with 27 games. Which teams were chosen based on last season stats as well? You can see them by clicking chosen. And apparently 22 of them were chosen last year. This is the order based on current year season stats. Do we have any? Yeah, so these are all teams that were confirmed both last year and current season stats. in general, you want some consistency. You want the team to have both been favored based on last year's full season stats, and you want them to be playing well this year. So you want them to be favored in this list as well. What about the ones that are not chosen? These 5 teams are teams that the algorithm likes under current season stats, but did not like them under last season stats. That's Texas, El Paso, Presbyterian, Northwestern State, Quinnipiac, and Arkansas. What's interesting to watch is at the end of the day, when you put the scores in, you want to see if these teams are starting to outperform when you're looking at the current season stats. Like, does Northwestern have a good game? Do they beat Stephen F. Austin, or do they at least cover here? This might be cueing you into the fact that Northwestern State is a better team this year, or that Stephen F. Austin is a worse team this year than they were last year. So this is just a way to look and get an idea of which teams you want to be able to look at that have consistency in both seasons. So let's get rid of this list for a second, and let's go back to yesterday, because we'll show you an example of what it looks like when a day has already finished. So we're going to go back to yesterday, which was the 12th, Sunday the 12th. We're going to go back to past year stats first. We're going to refresh, and this list may have slightly changed, but I remember it being 20-6. No, it's still 20-6. I don't think it's changed at all. So these are the teams that were on here. Let's grab them. We're 20-6 when looking at all teams. We're pasting all these teams right here. And now we're going to look at current season stats, which did not have as good of a day. You'll be able to see that last season still worked better for Sunday. Current season stats at a 5% bump. Instead of being 20-6, when you refresh the pivot table, you'll see that we were 25-1. Oh, that's because I already inserted the stats. Now, it was not 25-1. It was like 16-14 or something. It was 14-12. It was not 25-1. This is what happens when you put the current season stats in here, is it regressively goes back and makes it look a whole lot better than it was. It was not 25-1. But here's what I wanted to look at, is look at the teams that were chosen. Yeah, it's 20-1. So it's actually bad to do this after you've already brought in the stats. It doesn't give you the information that you want. You want to not bring in the current player stats and standings when you do this at the end of the day to get a better look. Who wasn't chosen? 5 teams were not chosen at a 5% bump.
I just made the most dusty player in the NHL. I'll show you that.
Yeah, I'm proving myself wrong here with how you look at this for yesterday, but that's okay. It'll work for today. So we go back today, understand that you'll generally want to use this past year stats because it will be more reliable, but the current year stats are going to start getting better. And you'll get rid of this. And you'll grab just these teams, put them here, and them here, and then you'll go to current year and you'll see the teams that are on both lists. And these will be generally the ones that are going to be most reliable because they're appearing on both lists. Looks like there's choosing chosen 22 of them. And, Pittsburgh's supposed to be Florida Gulf Coast, Norfolk State over Hampton. This Siena, see this Siena one up here? They played a really good team in week 1. They're an underdog line. I know they're away, but the margin is really good under current year, and they showed up for last year. So I think Siena is probably the underdog of the day, and Oral Roberts +6 is the spread pick of the day as well. All right. So good luck, everyone. I hope the file's working out for you as I can stop sending emails every day and just answer sporadic questions as you have them, because the process is pretty standard from this point out. You will start wanting to mess with percentages but that's something you can do on your own. I'm not working on the macro yet. I haven't sold enough to really want to spend time on doing a macro for this, but you can start adjusting these percentages to try to get better results. And that is something that you can focus on and test. All right. Good luck, everyone. May all your picks be winning. Enjoy your college basketball season. And it's been going okay, as it usually does for this file. So I continue to expect good things out of it. And I'll see you again March Madness when that tournament happens, and I provide all the products that I provide for the March Madness brackets and AI brackets and tournament organizers and everything I do for that. All right. Good luck, everyone. May all of your picks be winning. Go Sienna.